Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. Hopefully you've had a great time this morning, and we've got some incredible minds on stage here today, and hopefully we can kind of share some knowledge. And we're at a really crucial time when it comes to sports, and what I like to call an inflection point right now. Before we kick it off, I would love for our panelists up here to kind of go ahead and give just a quick overview on their backgrounds. Just to kick it off, Tessa, if we could start with you here at the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm Tessa Adams, one of the founders and CEO of everle and blob.ai, which we'll get into. I originally hail from Seattle, Washington, and have been in LA for about 15 years now. I was also an athlete, played tennis my entire life. And once I got to LA, quickly found my way into Red Bull, spent a lot of time in various aspects. Great hat, by the way. We talked backstage, I had to plug it. And dealing with a lot of things there, from sports and cans, and then building out a new division of their business. And then over the pandemic, was the CMO of my previous company. We sold that and started my current company, which is rooted in the AI space. So we create technology around digital safety and AI, and things that truly empower humanity and bring people together and create human connection, which we find aligns very well in the sports world. So.
Hello? Okay, there it is. Well, I don't know how I'm going to follow that. I'm Chamley-Watson. I'm a professional fencer. I actually got into fencing as a punishment. I was a bad kid growing up, so they said, here you go, pick up tennis, fencing, and badminton, until I got better in school. I was like, oh, I can stab people for a living, not get in trouble. This is pretty good. And that ended up being my way out. So if I never got into trouble, I would never go out of trouble, which is a double-sided sword, per se. And I moved to America when I was 14, and it's kind of where I got introduced to fencing, which changed my life. I was a very ADHD kid, and fencing's kind of like a physical chess, so it kind of allowed me to kind of open my mind and finally find something that I loved. And fast forward, a couple Olympic medals, a couple world championships, but for me, the biggest thing for me is changing the sport that gave me everything. And I think the best part about, what I can do is I can win all the stuff, all the medals, but the best thing is if I can change a kid's life, which is kind of what I want to kind of focus on. And I'm actually doing something in the next year that's going to be the first time people in the sport can call themselves a professional. So I don't want to say too much yet, but that's kind of something that I've been striving towards. So thank you for having me.
Share your mic. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, guys. My name is Cortenraede, founder and managing partner from InStudio Ventures, running an investment firm based here in Los Angeles. Besides, I'm a general partner at LeAD. LeAD stands for the Legacy of Adidas. It's founded by the grandson of Adidas, the founder of Adidas. In total, with the two investment firms, we invested in 70 companies. For example, Tomorrow Sports from Tiger Woods. With InStudio Ventures, we're the lead investor in the Boardroom, company from Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman. We're the lead investor next to Michael Rubin. We just closed a big deal. We invested in an NFL franchise, the Buffalo Bills. My background is very entrepreneurial, as you probably can hear from my accent, originally from Europe, the Netherlands, but moved 7 years ago to the United States, first New York City, with my wife and 2 little boys, and then we moved to Los Angeles, living here for the last 4.5 years. And we're backed by a lot of athletes, so working closely with a lot of soccer players from the Dutch national team, Premier League players, NBA, NFL, but we will touch on that a little bit later.
Yeah. Incredible. So as I referenced, we're at an inflection point right now where we're at a moment where innovation is no longer optional in sports. It's a prerequisite. And the sports tech market is stated to be at 35 billion this year and up to 5x that in the next 5 years. So as I move forward, I guess my question is for Tessa here. Tessa, you've built at the intersection of creativity and performance and purpose. From Red Bull launching everle and now blob.ai. How do you define innovation as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things happening in the world today, and it's moving at what feels like lightning speed. And I think a lot of what's happening from an innovation standpoint is innovating just to innovate and forgetting that there's a reason behind what we're doing and why we're doing it. And for us and at our company, that's humanity and that's humans. So how are we innovating in a standpoint that's actually benefiting and empowering humanity and moving us forward together, as opposed to extorting or extracting? And that's really what we build on, right? We build on this trust economy and this human economy, and we do that in everything we do, and especially in AI, which we've heard a lot about today already. I think there's a lot of great business cases where AI is being used for efficiency, but we can also use them for ourselves in a community and sports and athletes specifically. So that's something that we focus on very heavily.
That's awesome. Danny, from your perspective as an investor, what lens do you look at it through? Is it more so from a cultural perspective, or how do you apply that from a tech meaningfully?
Yeah, so our fund is focusing on a couple of things. So we have premium assets in there like the NFL, NBA. At the flip side, we're looking at emerging leagues. Think about the WNBA and a lot of sports technology. So innovation that's happening in sports. What I just mentioned in the introduction, the Boardroom is one of our portfolio companies. That's a lot about culture, right? The Boardroom, for the people that don't know the company, it's business, sports, and culture. So we're building an online community, but also we're building it offline. So we have 12 events per year. Last 2 weeks ago, we had our event here in Los Angeles together with CNBC and the Boardroom. Travis Scott was there. I think it's a great example of culture. He's driving the culture forward. I don't know if you know about the collaboration with Barcelona. It was a huge success. So tech, yes, you want to work with the best people out there, the highest and the smartest people out there. But how do you translate that into culture? And how do you actually people going to use it? And I think that's a great example what the Boardroom is doing with first-party data, but also actually knows what's happening from a culture perspective.
And Miles, over to you. You're an athlete who's broken molds your whole career, from fashion, business to fencing. And from your perspective, how do you constantly reinvent yourself, and how do you look at innovation for yourself as an athlete?
Great question. So I think for me, it's, fencing is obviously one of the older sports in the Olympiad, and it's kind of been at this constant static state for years now. And I think for me, people only really care about fencing every 4 years, right? It's the Olympics, and they'll click it, oh, this is really cool. And I've just been thinking about how do we not only change fencing from niche to mainstream, but obviously through tech. And that's the most important thing that I think our sport is lacking. It's, if bowling's on TV, why is fencing not on TV? It's very simple. It's 'cause people don't understand what's going on. And I think that's the thing that I'm kind of focusing a lot on, is how do we really start at the grassroots level with the younger kids to show them, where the sports is going to go in the future. So I think for me, and that's why, social media is a great platform for me, because I can be relevant every day instead of every 4 years. So it's maximizing my platform, but also capitalizing, kind of like you said, the culture, right? And that's the best way to get into a sport culturally, and that's the relevance. So I think for me, if I can appeal to somebody culturally, and then oh wow, I'm a fencer, immediately the stigma changes. So I think that's a massive plus, which is, I think that's what I'm kind of focusing the next 2 to 3 years on.
Yeah. So from your perspective, we're hearing innovations both human and technical at the same time. And I've always said, for me, innovation is a huge part of innovation is storytelling. And people don't know what they like, but they like what they know. And so from that perspective, as you look at kind of the storytelling aspect, and Tessa, I'll kind of fly over to you, but Red Bull's known for kind of fusing culture with sport. And so what lessons did you carry from that world as far as emotion and storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, that's something obviously we did very well at Red Bull and continue to do. Leaning into sports. Sports is one of the, probably one of the first places you can remember being a part of a team or finding camaraderie or maybe making friends, and having that like human connection and the stories that come from that. So I think understanding that you can have a product, but a product without a brand or without a story or without that emotional attachment really doesn't mean anything. And I think what we're seeing today from a technical perspective is in this AI arms race, we've completely lost sight of the story. We have no idea what we're supposed to be connected to, and we just had a conversation backstage. We're like, I'm really not even sure what's going on anymore, which is what, and I think how most people feel, right? Because that story's not being told, and it circles us back to how innovation does need to focus on the human, absolutely must focus on the story, the culture, the why behind everything that we're doing, and that's something that's super important to us, and I take a lot of what we did at Red Bull into what we're doing now, because I think it was, very, very clever, the way that we got people attached to the brand at the legally earliest age possible.
Miles, you've worked with some brands, most notably the one you have on your hat right now, and alongside that, Louis Vuitton, Off-White, Richard Mille, etc., who are all masters of storytelling. And what do you think sport can learn from kind of fashion and the storytelling aspect from those brands?
Well, I think sports and fashion, it's the perfect marriage, right? I think it's, especially for me, I've always wanted to look good on and off the piece. And I think for me, fashion is one of the biggest markets. So I've always used fashion to help me with my sports. And I think so many people in fashion want to be athletes, some people in athletes want to be in fashion. So how do you fuse those two organically, right? Like we said, you can have all the money in the world, but it doesn't mean that what you have on is going to look good on you. So I think for me, it's finding the right brands, and I've always taken that, very seriously. It's everyone that I work with, it's not an endorsement, it's a family. And I think that's why I've been able to, grow with them. They've been able to support me since I was, a crazy little 19-year-old. And I think if they can understand who you are, then they can really help you grow to that next spot. So I think for me, I'm grateful for all my brand ambassadors and everybody that's kind of supported me. But without them, I wouldn't be able to be sitting up here with you. So I think it's about finding the right people that understand you. And I learned that it's more powerful to say no than to say yes.
Yeah, I agreed. Danny, in the next sort of 3 years, we have some of the world's largest sporting events coming to the city. And you've always said, I quote you here or paraphrase you, Danny, you said innovation is about storytelling as well. How do you see sort of technology and kind of the creative storytelling aspect and innovation helping LA become a cultural inflection point with the World Cup coming in?
Yeah, so my background also scaling agencies. I just love storytelling, creating content. That's something that I can really appreciate. And what we're also doing with, we're backed by a lot of athletes. They're also looking at us. Our core thesis is investing, but we're still helping them with making the right introductions, helping them working with the right brands. Now, in the next coming 3 to 4 years, LA is the platform, right? We have the World Cup coming up next year. And beginning of the year, the NBA All-Stars here, actually, at the InStudio. We have the Super Bowl coming up, and after that, the LA Olympics. For me, storytelling is something that's, again, close to what we're doing and what we believe in, also together with our athletes. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Sure. And some of the athletes, you just want to just reference some of the athletes you currently work with InStudio.
Yeah, so we have a mix of Premier League players playing for Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham, Aston Villa. We have guys playing for the Dutch national team, the NBA and the NFL. I think that what differentiates us as a firm is how we're working with the athletes. And also, I think you can confirm there's no shortage in opportunities for the athletes, right? Everybody wants something from them. But what we noticed, knowing the guys already for many, many years, is that we launched an athlete council. And what we're doing is involving them in a lot of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So a concrete example, last week we had a deal flow meeting, and the guys and women are calling in and actually listening and learning from the opportunities that we're discussing. Or, for example, we had an opportunity to invest in an MLS team. We had a chat with the CEO, and one of the guys from Liverpool was calling in and was listening and actually learning about the opportunity. And after that call, we have a separate meeting where we actually analyze the deal and looking at the deal. And his brother was on the call, his manager, himself. And I think that's important, that you really understand why you're investing and what's the opportunity about, and not saying, hey, a friend, this is a great restaurant or another opportunity. I think that's crucial, and that's something that we are really doubling down on.
Awesome. I think the common theme or through thread here is whether you're an athlete, brand, or an investor, innovation starts with emotion and scales with storytelling, right? And so I want to kind of shift gears a sec and talk, obviously, within sports, there's this proliferation of AI right now that's coming into play. I want to talk about that a bit more. And Tessa, you're the AI expert on stage here at COACT. So with blob.ai, which can be used as a companion on many levels, including from a sports performance element, what role do you see AI playing in in terms of helping athletes engage and understand their emotional states as we move forward, especially with larger sporting events coming?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think a lot of people would say, athletes fuel strictly for performance, and understanding that wellness, connection, social, mental wellness specifically play just a massive part in said performance and really how athletes and how we all show up every single day. We believe humans just in general are curious, right? We're curious beings. It's what fuels innovation. It's what drives us to kind of move forward. But if we don't have safe spaces to fuel that curiosity or to have those curiosities, then we don't feel safe to express ourselves or to share things as we move about the world. So for us, it's really important, and a big reason why we created blob.ai is because it is the only fully data private, safe companion that, yes, athletes have been utilizing, general market has been utilizing to actually feel safe and protected, but have those conversations in some of those in-between times that maybe you don't feel comfortable having with a general human. And I think that's the real key piece of this, is providing something that is truly empathetic, that understands humans on a level and is there to empower and not extort humans, as I mentioned before. So for us, that's a big part of what we do.
By the way, I have to say I've used blob.ai, and I played with it a couple of times here now, and it's incredible what you have built. I have to say that, and I would encourage anyone to download it. How can they get insight into it?
Yeah. Heyblob.com and pop in your email, and you can get first access to blob.ai later this week.
Awesome. Brilliant. Big week for you.
Always is. Tech business.
Danny, over to you. So you're investing heavily in data-driven AI ventures right now with InStudio. Where are we seeing the smartest applications and use cases in sports with athlete-led innovations?
Yeah, let's take a step back, right? So I think what we're doing with InStudio Ventures, we have a couple things going on. So if you look at macro level, the economy on global scale, I think it will grow at 3.3% right now. US stable. I think the stocks are at a very high valuation, almost overpriced, price for perfection. If you look at Europe, also a lot going on. Germany is just growing at 0.2%. Asia, also interesting what's happening there. For us as InStudio Ventures, we're looking, okay, where can we play a role and where can we invest? So what I said, one thing are the premium assets, so the NFL, that's a stable asset, right? It's outperformed the S&P 500 already for 20 years. It has a 110 billion media deal connected to it, so all these teams get 400 million at the beginning of the year. These franchises are profitable. So that's one, and that's also AI is also connected to that. For the rest, I said we have emerging leagues, so WNBA, for example, and a lot is in sports technology. So a concrete example is, for example, Springbok Analytics. We invested in this company together with the NBA equity team. NBA equity team invested in 40 companies, and this company won Launchpad. That's the accelerator program. What the company does is a software for MRI scans. So where you normally, an elite athlete goes into an MRI scan for 45 minutes, this decreases that to 15, maybe even 10 minutes. And you get a full body scan backed by AI and backed by data. So we collecting, 20 franchises in the NBA are using it. Chicago Bulls, the Jazz, the NFL put a $4 million grant into this company, and we joined with our firm to unlock actually Europe, the European clubs like Liverpool and Man City. But the data is incredible, and the AI behind it, actually what it does, so you can now see how much muscle mass do you have in your left calf compared to your right, and it's all backed in the data. So I can also look at it, okay, what are the athletes from 29 years old, and how much muscle mass do they have? How much fat do they have? All these things can we see, the bone density, And this company is backed by amazing people, 11 years of research, all PhD, and they start commercializing it in the last 3 years. That's an example of where we are very bullish on.
Yeah, I mean, there's several use cases for AI, and that seems to be just a grandiose one. And I've always said AI is unlocking both new data and new empathy from a human performance perspective as well. Miles, as someone living at the intersection of physical performance, which, I mean, you just came here from a training session, right? Every time I talk to Miles, he's at the Red Bull Performance Center. And brand building as well. How are you seeing tech enhancing kind of human creativity but not replacing it?
Well, that's I mean, the not replacing part, it's on this one over here. Well, I think, obviously, technology is how you're obviously going to advance the sport, and especially something like fencing, which is so niche, but it's so hard to kind of understand how someone gets a point, right? But in layman's terms, it's very easy. Hit them before they hit you, right? But if we can, break down or freeze frame, me getting a point, then people are going to understand what's happening in the sport. So I'm working with this company called Dentsu, who we are basically introducing a new technology to the sport. And for the first time next year, we're going to be able to showcase this on a global level, which I think is going to be incredible. So, kids from the lower level can see fencing in a completely different new light. And I think that's going to be how we move the sport forward. I think tech is the greatest way for us to build a platform. And I think that's what I'm focusing on. So I'll definitely talk to you afterwards. But I think technology for us, the only reason why fencing is not on TV. And I think if we can really nail this down, then I think it will be the future of the sport.
Yeah, I'm excited for what you have coming down the pipeline. Danny, I want to talk women's sports for a second. And what we've seen here is just a massive cultural shift around women's sports. You're seeing investment pouring into leagues like the NWSL, the WNBA, you referenced earlier around some of your investments. And this culture is kind of catching up to market reality. What's driving this, and how are you seeing it from your lens?
We always believed in women's sports, right? It's not that changed. Women were playing on the highest level. Only the economics didn't make sense. So that's something that changed in the last couple of years. So if you look at the NWSL, since 2019, the viewership went up with 500%. What does that mean? It's a chicken egg story. So the corporate sponsorships are willing to pay more money for it. You have the media deal, 240 million, what they closed. It was a 40x if you compare that with the previous. If you look at the WNBA, these figures, there's a 76 billion media deal for the NBA, 2.2 billion for the WNBA. The valuations went up quite significantly, so we're also looking at from a critical lens, right? Because if you look at the WNBA, it's still losing money, right? 50 million per year in 2024. But we're bullish on it. We believe there are opportunities that make sense and where we want to put our money. Not only look at the revenue, you're looking at multiple things. So the media rights are crucial. Just what I said also with the NFL, right? There's a 110 billion media deal connect to it. What does that mean for the women's sports? You want to have consistency there and predictions. If it's on the Thursday on the 2 p.m., doesn't make sense. You want to have there a stable ticket sales. How's that going? Are there a lot of renewals? WNBA has more or less 44 sponsorship deals. If you compare that with the men, for the men, it's 25-30% of their revenue. For women's sports, it's 50 to 60%. So it's a big part of their revenue. Again, 50-60%, so that's a crucial part. We're looking at it. I think the Valkyries did a great job. 500 million valuation. They sold 10,000 tickets in the beginning of the year. And why was that? They're connected to the Warriors. So they used their infrastructure, they used their tickets, and they were able to get to 10,000 tickets. But there's also a downside to that, because from an investor perspective, if it's connected to the men's team, that's not always great. You also want to have an independent cost structure and an independent P&L there. I think Angel City FC, great example, 250 million. Bob Iger, right, invested for 250 million, just separate P&L, great example. So much is going on in this women's sports ecosystem. Finally, we get it at a bigger level. We're not there yet. You need to have deep pockets and the right strategic partners. I think that's important. Some people just want to own a team just because they own it. We are very critical and want to be around people who really understand how to scale a franchise. So we were looking, for example, at Austin with a group. Look, to be honest, we are not leading this. It's a lot of money, right? Just only the expansion fees, 250 million. We're looking for strategic investors who have the experience there, and with our fund, we're joining that. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of background.
So you co-invest a lot with on deals of that structure or nature?
Yeah, we do that together with other partners. So, for example, with the family office from Kevin, right, KD, that's a great group. We have other people in the industry. They have the experience and the knowledge, and we're collecting there the right group, and then we go into a team to actually make a difference there.
Awesome. Tessa, as it stands today, female founders are leading some of the most disruptive movements within sports and health and wellness. How can investors, broader ecosystem, better support sort of what you're doing, female founders are doing in general?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I get this question maybe every time I'm on a panel. But, I mean, the stats are there, right? We've all heard them. Women get 1.7% of the funding, but female-led companies tend to do 68% better. The male-led companies, women are doing more with less. All of the above. But the way I like to really look at it is like, you know, AJ, you played soccer, right? And imagine losing your entire midfield team. It's not going to be a very efficient game, is it? No.
No.
Women make up over 50% of the population and are birthing 100% of the next generation. So it seems like they should have a seat at the table is really, you know, what I like to say. So I think from a support standpoint, it's, yes, absolutely, it's funding. It's getting out there. It's funding women's sports. It's taking big bets on female founders. It's understanding the complexities of being a female founder and understanding how we navigate and move differently. I think women have been trained by society to be nurturers, right? We're trained to make sure that we understand what people need before those needs even arise. I mean, I think that's what actually makes women such great founders, is because we understand humanity. I think I've built my entire career on human energy and understanding humans and sort of what those needs are before those needs arise. And that's what makes women so special. But we need men in the room as well in order to make everything that we're doing in this ecosystem effective. So the more we can work together, the more we can support financially, the more we can support with introductions, the more we can support just across the board, makes everybody more money and makes a bigger impact on the world.
That's incredible. Danny, from your perspective with InStudio Ventures, as you look at different investments across the board, is there anything kind of from a focus lens towards female founders or anything of that degree?
No, crucial, of course, right? In the end, it's about the founder team. It's not if it's a female or a man. It needs to just be great people who really understand the business, complementary to each other. That's for us important. But we're looking now at a sports betting company backed by a female. What's amazing, a great tracker. We will love to have her on board. For us, with the fund, again, women's sports and just women is part of our thesis. We want to make a difference there. We also have, we're backed by a women athlete. It's something that we're very bullish on. Same as youth sports, also part of our thesis. But that's definitely important for us.
Can you elaborate a bit more on, from an athlete perspective, you sort of have this inner circle. InStudio doesn't work as your traditional kind of VC venture fund model. Can you elaborate a bit more on the athlete council, which I found fascinating as far as both men and women in educating these athletes on sports investments, co-investments, et cetera?
Yeah, so it grew actually very organically, this whole athlete council and how we built the business. So my background, operational, right? As an entrepreneur, skilled to businesses, know the operational part. With the previous company, I had an agency that was affiliated to a sister company that is Fort Retreat. It's the biggest soccer community in the world. So we got to know there are a lot of soccer players, but also through my network, already knew a lot of soccer players. And what we saw, again, is that, and especially also in Europe, a lot of agents just doing the deals are there to, I don't want to make it too, but grab the money, and then that's not for everyone, right? Let's be honest. But we see there is a lot of work to do, that there are people that they can trust and actually involve them. So we wanted to actually make a difference there. Because, again, we know the people. We know the brother, we know the parents, we know the kids. And what we launched is the Athlete Council, and that's really about, again, involving these athletes in all the investments. We do this on a regular basis, so virtual. It's very difficult to get all the athletes together, especially globally with the time difference and yeah, you know how it is, right, with the training and to get everyone in the same room. But we do this virtually. So for example, 3 weeks ago, we had Rich Kleiman there, the business partner from Kevin, talking about how he built Kevin's empire, how you actually need to pick the right business partner, right? Because also a lot of people want something from them. How do you pick people that you can trust and actually can build up on top of that? From my perspective, a real conversation where the athletes could ask all kind of questions, but also in person. So we invited in New York 15 athletes together with Fanatics and the Boardroom. 15 athletes flew in, NFL players, NBA players, NHL players for 2.5 days. All was organized and about entrepreneurship, about AI, about innovation. In the evening, a dinner with Michael Rubin. The day after, another program. And in the evening, we had a dinner with the CEO from Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, one of the biggest financial leaders in the industry. We had Josh Harris there. And that's, from my perspective, where you see that magic is happening. The people are sitting in the room, top executives, top players, in a trusted environment where you actually can learn. And it's not just about making an investment in a deal that you maybe per quarter you get an update. No, you are actually involved and you can learn about why this makes sense and also where you can add value as an athlete. Because these, right, playing on the highest level and maybe not seasoned investors, entrepreneurs, not yet, but the right mindset, amazing to have the people in the same room and we see magic is happening there.
That's awesome. Miles, title of the panel is obviously athletes, entrepreneurs, innovators. From your perspective, athletes today are becoming kind of CEOs of their own brands. I'm seeing that more and more. We're all seeing that more and more. What's sort of the biggest mindset shift you had to make to succeed in that sort of entrepreneurial space? Because you've got some pretty profound sponsors.
Yeah, I think for me, it was always knowing what my end goal was, right? And I think it was understanding what my vision was, and obviously no one in that space was kind of doing what I was trying to do. So I think for me, it was, you know, my first, endorsement deal, I had to lie to Nike, and tell them that I had a manager and, send him, my emails just to get this deal done, right? Instead of me going out and finding someone else, I said, I'm going to learn, I'm going to, read contracts, I'm going to figure out what it is, so then when I am a little bit more equipped, I can understand, the business side. And I think for me, it was understanding every little detail that involves me. And it wasn't just having an agent and then be like, okay, cool, this is this. It was, for me, it was understanding every process. I think that's why I've been able to see things differently, and I've been able to have great brand partners and understanding that they don't want an athlete who's just going to sit on their hands, right? They want someone who's going to be proactive, bringing them ideas. I think that's really important. I think that's why I've been able to scale fencing to a bigger level, but ultimately it starts with you. And I think I'm the one driving the ship, whether I've got agents and someone's in the back there too, but I think it's understanding what my vision is, and I think that's the most important thing. But it's also about understanding. Like, most athletes don't realize that if you get $1 million, it's not $1 million, it's 500,000, right? It's understanding those small things so you don't make the same mistake. So that's kind of what I was telling myself, was to educate myself so I'm well equipped for every type of thing in my life, whether it's endorsements, investing, what I'm going to do next year, but it's understanding my whole portfolio. And I think that's the difference between me and most athletes.
Got it. As you looked at kind of some of those brand deals, as you brokered those, what was kind of, did you have an agent at the start? How did you go about that?
Well, my first ever deal was with Nike, and I had no agent at all. And I was just so excited that I was going to get an endorsement deal. It was literally, I'll tell you, it was for like $15,000. It was 9 years ago, and I was like, no worries. But I knew that once I got into the door, that would be 20 to 100x, right? So it was, first of all, it was obviously I had no agent because no one's going to, manage a fencer at the time, right? But it's, I never forget my first time going to WME, and I went to the office, hey, I'm Miles, I'm the fencer, and they're like, no, you're not. And I was like, no, this is literally me. But the whole stigma was they never seen a 6'5", black guy covered in tattoos that fenced. So it was breaking those barriers down, and then when you get into a room, then that's like, oh, okay, and now we kind of understand. So I think it was getting into the room first, and then understanding what my goal and plan was, and then that's why I've been able to have, some remarkable partners. But it all starts with your vision and how you want to see yourself. Because it's, there's always going to be another, LeBron or whatever that might be, but if you can leverage, what my sport is, because I thought fencing was my issue, but ended up being my greatest strength. And I think that's what I learned from the lowest level.
Yeah. Innovation today seems to be about having agency as much as having your own ideas. And I want to shift gears and talk about the future for a sec. And Tessa, over to you, with just in terms of what you're building and cultivating right now with blob.ai and with everle, you sort of blur the lines between wellness, creativity, and social connection, which is pretty incredible. But at the same time, I'd love to know, as we look into the future, which can be quite scary at times, but I think it depends how you look at it from your lens. But do you think of kind of human-centric, how do you look at human-centric brands as we move forward and in an increasingly digital world?
Yeah, I mean, I think in kind of what I touched on earlier in terms of losing sight of the story and the emotional aspect of the nature of humans just in general can create a very dangerous narrative. And I think the media tends to perpetuate that narrative. It does it for a lot of the people that we work with, athletes especially, right? They're too afraid to say anything anymore or even have an opinion, which is why we've created platforms like everle, which is a fully encrypted safe space for people to build communities, and as well as blob.ai, where people can actually have data private conversations with an AI outside of ChatGPT. So I think focusing, and again, I'll just reiterate, on human empowerment and not human extortion, and understanding that we as humans don't need to be inventory, but we can use these tools to really empower our lives and create a better future for ourselves and for the next generation. And if we stay true to that and focus in on that as sort of our true north, I think we can be on the right side of history. And I think we can create a digitally safe world away from maybe what a lot of the noise of media is perpetuating today.
That's awesome. Miles, in 3 years' time, we've got a small event coming to the city called the Olympics. And you're going to be there and also competing as well. As someone who's made fencing culturally relevant, and from your perspective, which is no small feat, what more needs to happen for kind of the sport to break barriers and capture mainstream attention?
Well, one of them, I wish I could say more, but is obviously this professional thing I'm doing. You can fill in the blank. Because I think it's just accessibility, right? And it's just, if fencing's not on TV every day, how do you make it so people can understand what it is? So that's the number one thing. And I think, after the Paris Olympics and all the eyes we kind of had, people started to realize, oh wow, fencing's not like the Parent Trap. I'm like, no, people really get stabbed. It's a real combat sport. So I think the key is to get people to see it and understand it. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think now with the Olympics in the next 3 years, there's a great roadmap to educate people on the lowest level, so that hopefully they can come and we can make history in 3 years, right? So that to me is the most important thing, is using that roadmap from now to the Olympics in 2028, but also educating people on what the sport really is. So that started at the lowest level where kids are 8 years old. I'm doing my first competition, like I told you about, which is Youth 8. These little kids can't even keep their head up. It's so cute, from 8 to ages 70, which is kind of rare that sport can kind of cross every barrier. So, and that's kind of the first time, people are going to be getting prize money and just showing little kids that, you should be rewarded for your hard work. So that's kind of what I want to change kind of moving forward, and just bringing in new people, women, people of color, just to show people that the sport is amazing. It's given me this entire life through a sword, So I think that's just showing kids that you don't have to just do the traditional sports to be successful. And I'm living proof of that. So I think that's one of the things that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and I know just getting to know you on a deeper level, you're very passionate about the youth and integrating them into the sport of fencing as well, and kind of that launch pad scenario. And speaking of launches, you're launching something here very big pretty soon, and I'll let you kind of tease out as much as you want. here on stage. But
Trying to get me to say it, huh? Yeah, so in April of next year, we're going to be showcasing the best fencers in the entire world with new technology. And for the first time, you can consider yourself a professional fencer, which is pretty incredible. And, you know, I just want to see kids when they're 14, 15, and parents can say, look, there's a roadmap for my son to be successful, because most people will get into fencing, do it for 2 years, go to a great school, and then, you know, do something else. But I hated seeing wasted talent. I hated seeing kids that loved the sport, but there was no accessibility, there was no end goal. So I think this is for the first time from the lowest level, you know, parents can invest in the kids, and kids can say, okay, I'm 15, now I know where I want to go. And I think that's the only way the sport's going to change is if you have a